Welcome to Greedy 3D. Well, last week, if you remember, we made the Captain America Endgame shield here. Had a great response. So this week we're going to be doing something a little bit similar. We're going to be making the shield from the What If Captain Carter series here. Tune in, I'll show you how to make it and paint it. The shield that we're making today can be found on the Etsy.com website, and as you can see, we did a search for Captain Carter shield STL file, and this is what came up. So this is it, and if you look at it, it comes in many parts. I'm going to be making it like this, so 10 parts and a centerpiece, and we have had to scale this down to 75% to get it to fit on the Ender 3, but that's absolutely fine. That's going to be plenty big enough for the Captain Carter shield that we're after. Now, as you can see, this cost me £13.66 to buy, but well worth every penny when you see exactly what you're getting. So I'm going to download this, and we're going to move it across, and we're going to print it. So we've loaded the file into Cura, as you can see, and I've reduced the size of the image down to 75%. Now this would be bigger on the build plate. We could go bigger with this, but when we come to print the centerpiece, any larger than 75% will not fit on an Ender 3, Ender 5 build plate. So we're kind of governed really, unless we want to start chopping up the centerpiece. So I've put it in this orientation here. And the reason I've done that is if I lay it flat, which I've tried to do and print it flat, it works fine, but under here will just generate so many supports. Firstly, it takes ages to get them off, and secondly, the underside is very pitted and damaged from all the supports, which means lots of after work and after sanding to get it to look good. So we're going to be printing this on the Ender 5. Print time is around about 6 to 7 hours print time. So let's have a look and watch it print. So there we have it. We've printed all the parts to the shield. There were 10 segments to the main shield itself and the centerpiece. Now initially I'd planned on doing the centerpiece as one piece, and I did try that, but it just didn't look right. The quality of the outer surface wasn't good, and the bottom of it here was very pitted with the supports. So I decided to do it again in 2 halves, and I just cut that on slicer to do that, and I've glued that together now, as you can see, and that just needs to go in the center. I've glued it together, and I used to do that some of this stuff, just some Gorilla Glue gel. Made the job really easy and has glued it really well, and a couple of clamps just to hold it together while the gluing process is binding. What have I learned from doing it? Okay, well, printing it in the vertical position was definitely the right option. No supports needed, and the quality of the outer surface isn't too bad. I had a couple of failed prints, and if you look here you can see just some lines there and a few bits of pitting here, but that's going to sand out in the final version. I'm not too worried about that. Gluing together again, the last piece was under quite a lot of pressure just to get the whole thing to pull into that curved shape that you can see, but went together okay, so I can't really complain. Centerpiece is going to need a little bit of adjustment to get it to fit, but again I'll sand that round and make that fit and then fill it. What else did I think about? Well, yeah, there was 2 versions on the file. There was a version that I've done, which is a very thin version, which is just for display purposes, and there was also a much thicker version which you can use for your Comic-Con outfit or fancy dress, if you will. Well, I'm not going to be doing that, so this will just be displayed on the wall. So this was absolutely fine for me. Quality wise, if you just look at the back of it, you can see that it doesn't look too bad for a wall hanging piece. I didn't have to do much work there apart from glue it, and I will sand it and I'll give it a coat of paint just to give it the final effect. But as you can see, the size wise, which was 75% of the original file, was absolutely fine. no problems at all, and I think it's going to look great when it's all sanded and painted, and hopefully now the next time you see it, that will be the state it's in. The white that you can see is just wood filler, and I'm going to give that a good 24 hours to go off before I start sanding it and doing the final bit of priming and sanding. So we'll come back to the sanding stage once this has had a chance to dry. Okay, we've done a little bit of sanding, as you can see. Well, quite a lot of sanding, a little bit of refilling and then some more sanding. So now it's time for a little bit of primer. So all I'm using at the moment is this, which is just some basic high coat plastic primer. And let's give it a blast and see what it looks like with a coat of that on. Just some light coats to start with, just to get a basic covering over it. And we'll do lots of little light coats. Just want to see if there's any obvious areas we've missed. I really don't mind a couple of little areas because, again, you know, it's been a shielding battle. Okay, so there we go, first layer of primer on top. Gonna let that set for about 10-15 minutes, give it another coat. When we come back to it, we'll have it completely primed. Okay, now the primer's had a chance to set, I'm gonna cover it with a layer of Rust-Oleum Metallic. It's the chrome finish. I think this will look great underneath the colours, and if any of the paint should come off and give it that battle damage look, it'll show the colour of this, which looks like a vibranium. So let's have a go here. Now this stuff is really thick, you don't need much of this at all, so I'm not going to overdo it. A few light coats just to give it that look of vibranium. And of course it's going to have the rest of the colours over the top. There we go, that'll do for now. Next coat we're going to give it will be the red. Silver's all dry now, so let's have a look at the next colour we're going to put on. Let's firstly remind ourselves of just what the shield looks like. There we go, so we can see that the centre cross in the first ring is red. So for that I'm just going to be using some basic metallic red, and I'm going to put it on all around the centre, and we will mask it off once it's all dry and add the other colours. So let's get some red on there. Going to take a couple of layers to get the red on, just to cover over the silver. Going to leave that to dry now, and once that's dried I'm going to give it another coat. We'll come back and the next stage will be the masking off stage, so that's going to be difficult but exciting to do, so stay tuned for that. go, there's the masking all on, and we're going to give it a coat of white now. Now if you notice, some of the red paint has actually come off, and I've done that on purpose really. Well, I like shields to look like they've been a little bit battered. I don't like them pristine, so I have not waited 24 hours for the red to dry thoroughly. I've just given it a couple of hours, and by doing so, when you pull the masking tape off, some of the red paint will come off with it, and it just looks like it's been through a battle. So let's get some of the white on. There we go, so I'm going to give that 10-15 minutes to dry, another coat, and we're done until the blue. Next thing will be to take all the tape off, let it dry, and then remask it. We are ready for the last coat of paint, and the last colour that's going on is going to be this metallic blue. I've masked it up, as you can see, so let's get the blue on. Okay, there we go. Just going to let it settle for 5 minutes or so and just dry a bit. Another coat, and then we're all done. Well, that's it. It's finally finished. It took about 2 weeks to do, but thankfully it's finished and it looks really, really good. A couple of things I've learnt along the way: don't leave it out in the sun to dry because it warps. It was a hot day today and it's warped out of shape a little bit, but I'll be putting that right soon. Not quite sure how yet, but I'll work it out. If you're expecting a clean, pristine shield that's just come off the production line, you're not going to see that. I like them battered, and I like them to look like they've been through a bit of a Thanos experience. So here it is, all finished. Thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. Please subscribe.